second phase of this horrifying, gruesome game. I'm sure many of you have already fallen and given up, but the true 3D animators out there will persevere. Welcome back everyone to the second episode of my rigging tutorial. We went through probably the worst part of the experience in the first episode, but now we get to have the fun part. So now we actually need to rig this person up for animation, and as you can see, this is not what we want. You could go about this and just animate him by rotating all of these individual joints, but chances are you're gonna want to avoid that. So let's avoid that. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set up IK chains for the arms. And again, I have a button for that right up here. You better have my layout, otherwise you're not gonna be able to do any of this. I mean, you will, but you'd have to look up every single command, and you don't want to do that. In order to create an IK chain, we're gonna select this shoulder joint right here. Not the top one, but the second one. Technically this is the arm joint, but I don't like calling it the arm because I actually like calling the IK chain the arm. It's just a preference of mine, leave me alone. Again, we're gonna want to select the second one, and the way you can tell is, does it move part of his chest or does it just move his arm? And if it just moves his arm, then you're selecting the right one. So with that selected, we're going to hold down Control and select the wrist right here. It's very important that you select the shoulder first. Once you have both of these selected, you're gonna wanna go up here and click on this nifty little button that says Create IK Chain. And now as you can see, there's something happening. There's some magic. It moves the entire arm, but we want more because we're greedy. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to this right wrist. We're just gonna have the right wrist selected, and we're gonna go up here again to create another orientation constraint because we really love those here. Now, what we're gonna do with this constraint is, well, first of all, we're gonna now delete this goal right here. I know, it seems like we just deleted the IK chain, but we did not. Because if we go over here, we can actually see the IK chain expression tag right here on the shoulder. So we're gonna click on that. We're gonna go down here to where it says goal. Click this little cursor right here. And then we're gonna click the right wrist, the new right wrist orientation constraint. Now, as you can see, when you move it, suddenly the hand isn't rotating with the whole arm anymore. Instead, we now have control over the rotation of the hand as well. The last thing that we're gonna do is we're going to, again, select the IK chain tag right here. And we're gonna go down and we're gonna click on Add Pole. This gives us even more control over the arm. I'm just gonna take this out here, and what I like to do is I actually like to move this a bit a ways back from his arms. So I actually like to go here, click and hold on this little magnet tool and enable quantizing, and I just like to move it back. So once it's moved back a bit from the arm, we're gonna go ahead and disable the quantizing. And now if we move this around, I'm actually going to click on this coordinate system so that way the axis is pointed up. So now if we move this around, it actually twists his arm. So we have pretty much total control over the entire arm. So now that I've done that for one arm, I'm going to go ahead and do that with the other arm, and I'm just going to let you guys follow me along as I show you one more time. So again, the second left shoulder, then we're going to select the left wrist, create IK chain, create an orientation constraint, going to delete this left wrist goal, going to select the IK chain tag, and where it says goal, select the cursor, and then click on the left wrist constraint. And then the last thing we're going to do is add pole, enable quantizing. Let me actually make sure these are the same. Yeah, they're the same. Cool. I'll go ahead and drag this out and disable quantizing. So now we have both arms rigged, as you can see. So for these circles right here, first of all, we're going to move these 4 items down on the same level of the hierarchy as the center orientation constraint is. And as you can see, the circles are now hidden because we actually hid this top parent circle. So we're actually going to turn the visibility of these on just in the editor, because we actually want these to show when we're animating. And what I like to do is with the orientation constraint selected, I go into the object tag and adjust the plane to where they're facing, like they're flat basically. And I also like to decrease the size a bit so they're not taking up too much space. I also like to enable the center circle, and let me actually disable the visibility of the stuff underneath that. There we go. So now I'm also gonna change the plane to that. So now we got a center circle as well. So now when we move the center, Whopper, Junior Double. So now when we move the center around, the arms no longer move with it. They're actually in place. Now there are certain situations where you'll actually want to disable these IK chains depending on what animation you're doing. Like for example, if your character is just walking or their arms are moving freely, it's actually easier to animate without the IK chains and just rotate the arms and the elbows around. But I mean, you can still do it this way if you want. It's kind of just like a preference kind of thing. So the last thing I want to do for the arms is I actually like to move the finger constraints under the arm constraints right here. So that way we don't have to go into this whole left shoulder hierarchy. We can just drag them into these right here. And we're gonna select these fingers and hide them like that. There you go. Alright, so the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna rig up the legs, and we're pretty much gonna perform most of the same steps as we did with the arms with a few extra steps. So one thing to note is when I organize the constraints of my leg joints, I actually took out the second ankle from the first ankle constraint. This used to be under this, it used to be under this ankle. I actually took it out because the top ankle is a bit glitchy and wonky. I don't use it in animation. Yeah, I recommend you guys following along as best as you can. First things first, again, we're gonna do the right leg first. We're gonna select the right thigh, and we're gonna hold down Control and then select the right ankle, and we're gonna create IK chain. As you can see here, it's moving the leg. And again, we're gonna select the right ankle, create orientation constraint, and then we're going to delete the right ankle goal, and we're gonna select this IK expression tag here on the right thigh. And where it says goal, we're gonna get this cursor and we're gonna click the right ankle constraint. There you go. As you can see, it's controlling his legs now, or his leg, I should say. Now we're gonna do this with the left thigh. So again, left thigh, left ankle, create IK chain, left ankle, orientation constraint, delete the left ankle goal, select the IK expression tag, select the cursor next to the goal, and then select the left ankle constraint. Alright, so this next part is going to be a little bit confusing, so just try your best to pay very close attention to what I'm about to do. So we're going to take it one step further and add a little more control over our leg control. First things first, I'm going to take these toes out of the feet. I know that sounds very gruesome, but just bear with me. And we're gonna do the right foot first. So I'm just gonna bring those two up top. Bear with me. So what we're gonna do is we're going to select the new right ankle constraint and the right toes. We're gonna select both of those and we're gonna duplicate them by holding down Control and then clicking and dragging these two up. and it creates a duplicate. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select these lower 3 items, the original toes, the original right ankle constraint, and the duplicate toes, and we're going to click and drag these and put them as children under the new right ankle constraint right here. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to click and drag this right ankle constraint right here under this right toes constraint. It's very important that you do it exactly in this order, and I'll explain what this does. So first of all, if we click on this constraint right here, this just moves the entire leg and it moves the foot. It gives you freedom to rotate the foot. Now, if we click on this and we're gonna rotate it, this allows you to make your character stand up on their tippy toes, which can be very useful for walking animations and just any situation where they might be standing on their tippy toes. And then right here, you can actually control the toes manually. And this one is not really important. You really don't have to use this at all. What I like to do once I complete these steps is I like to rename these. So I like to rename the very top one to right leg. And the one that allows you to put it on tippy toes, I like to rename that to right tippy toes. We're just gonna minimize that. Then we can leave that as right toes. So now we're gonna do this with the left leg. I'm gonna minimize that. So again, we're going to select the left toes, the left ankle, hold down Control, and then click and drag up till this little plus sign shows up in duplicate. We're gonna select these lower 3 right here, click and drag them up until that down arrow appears to make them children, and then we're going to select this left ankle constraint and put it under this left toe constraint. And again, we're just gonna rename this to left leg, left tippy toes. And the last thing we're gonna do is select these 2 IK expression tags on the thighs, and we're going to click add poll. And we're gonna take these out of the waist as well. And we're gonna go over here to enable quantizing, and we're actually gonna bring these out forward in front of the model, and then disable quantizing. Move these to the same level as our arm controls. And we're going to select the leg controls and turn on visibility in editor. We're going to go up to the object tab. We're going to change the plane, and it looks like the stuff underneath it is visible, which we do not want. So we're going to turn that off, and then we're going to reselect these legs and just reduce the size. And now we have a completely functional rig. Here, I'll go ahead and turn off the visibility of these custom options just so you can kind of get a better look at what we're working with here. One easier way to sometimes move things around is to actually, when you have what you want to move selected, you can go into coordinate and you can actually move it based on the axis. I actually use that quite a bit. But yeah, so this is pretty much your full body rig. The next video, I'm going to be going over smoothing out the model, and then after that I will be going over how to set up pose morph expressions.